How literally do you mean the song Tramp the Dirt Down? Perhaps you'd better explain to whom it's directed and what the thought was behind the song.
Well, I'm not inclined to describe the song line by line. I think it'd diminish it. I'd rather just sing it. But some of the things came from observations during the last election. And one particular line which I would recite is the bridge of the song, which says, "When England was the whore of the world, Margaret was her madam, and the future looked as bright and as clear as the black tarmac Adam." And that's the way I think it is, and it contemplates her demise in a quite brutal way.
The setting of that song is probably the most beautiful on the album, the most melodious, and yet, as you say, the sentiment behind the song is intensely ugly. What was the thinking behind putting that sentiment to that setting?
Well, when I first wrote it, I wrote it straight out of my head, type of, very much just appeared in 10 minutes. And then later I added a little bit to the lyrics. But it was very aggressive in just with acoustic guitar. The way I'd play it solo, it wouldn't be too pretty, it wouldn't have the same delicacy. And the intensity of the feeling about it makes you instinctively lean towards the more out performance. But the melody doesn't really insist upon that. It will stand up to it, but it also will stand up to a sadder, more contemplative treatment. And particularly in case of the instrumentation, the way I play it on the guitar is kind of like very harsh. This is a pretty harsh sounding acoustic guitar. It's an old instrument that has a clanky sort of sound. The way we had it arranged was with a very, very delicately played acoustic guitar, which Donald only played in bouzouki, and then pipes and fiddle came in as a harmony supporting the chorus, and I suddenly started to approach the song with much more sadness. So instead of trying to express my contempt and anger that was already written in the song by trying to match every word with a harsh delivery, I went the other way and tried to just sing the song truthfully and not so maybe theatrically as that might have appeared, you know.
Less of a protest song.
Yeah, also there is something to consider. This is the reaction, action, reaction chain, is that people know that mannerism. They know it from Bob Dylan, they know it from Billy Bragg. They recognize it and immediately react, and they're in a frame of mind before they've heard a single thing you have to say. So sometimes you have to be a little bit more ingenious, you know. First thing to say about what are self-consciously defined as political songs is, if you say it's subversive, it isn't subversive, you know, and there's nothing subversive about the song. It straight out says what it has to say, but the way of saying it determines on how many people listen to the end.
Does it sadden you that you're reduced to making that kind of statement? Because you don't strike me as a particularly violent person.
It's just a question of what it draws out in you. I think everybody's capable of the most monstrous violence. She seems like a perfectly reasonable person. You know, in some manifestations, she certainly looks fairly benign. She's a middle-aged woman with hair like candy floss, but she does some of the most monstrous things and shows not just two faces, but seems like any face that suits her at the time, and then tells you that it's a completely honest way to be. And I just can't find any words that portray my contempt.